Hey everybody, this is Double Cross Counter, and I want to talk about the new Persona 5 trailer that just came out from the Atlas stream that went on for about 30 hours, focused mostly on Persona. There were a few announcements about, Persona 4 Dancing All Night. The OP for that song came out, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And Persona 4 Dancing All Night limited edition Vita bundle is coming out too, and it looks great. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. The focus of this video is the Persona 5 trailer that came out at the end, and I want to talk about some of the stuff that's in the trailer that could imply some stuff about the new Persona 5 that could be really interesting, or it could be nothing. There's not enough to go on to make educated guesses that could actually be super on point, but there's enough there to make, wild assumptions, which the internet loves to do, so here I am. First of all, something that I'm pretty sure is set in stone at this point is it's going to be set in a big city with a lot of people, because the first establishing shot of the whole trailer is the helicopter going over the big city, and when he's going on the train, there's a bunch of people there, and when he's walking through the city streets, there's a bunch of people there too, and it wouldn't really make sense if there was a bunch of people in a country like Inaba style environment like in Persona 4. So that's going to be really interesting. That's probably going to be really fun, having a lot of people to play around with, even if you don't really interact with them much. The next thing is your character is obviously a thief, and hopefully that plays into the gameplay somehow. I don't know if it will, or if it probably will based on something else on this list I have here that I keep glancing at. If you're wondering what I'm looking at, just got to make sure I don't forget anything. I'm also talking pretty fast, so got to make sure I keep up with what I'm saying. And Igor's going to be back, which is good. That's fine. That's pretty typical, but it's the good kind of typical where it's something familiar that doesn't really change up too much of the story or gameplay and keep you locked into one thing. It's just Igor shows up, he sets up the plot, he basically leaves until you start fusing personas, and even then you're mostly talking to his assistant. Which we don't know who his assistant is yet, and that's the part that actually changes and is interesting. And what else? It might be open world. I'm not sure on that. That's almost entirely a wild guess, but based on the amount of travel options we saw and people walking around, having all that there and then not giving you the chance to use it would be a little weird. So I'm going to bet on open world, but I could be wrong. Now the next thing is the graphic style is sort of reminiscent of Catherine, but more HD, which is good, because that's where I would expect Persona to go in a good way. That's what I want it to resemble. Is just Catherine was, it looked fine. It was a really hard game. I think it was also Atlas, so that makes sense. And yeah, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good from the trailer, from what I could tell. Um, the menus look incredibly stylish, but with all the spinning around and stuff going on, you might get dizzy and lost. I hope that's not the case. I hope they can make it really clear what you're doing, because it looks pretty cool. I just don't want them to mess it up, because the menus are pretty important in an RPG. It's what you spend like most of your time doing when you're not fighting, and if people get dizzy in the menus, that's going to be a huge problem. There's going to be platforming. There is going to be platforming. That's pretty much entirely confirmed by this trailer, because there was actual platforming in the trailer. He was hopping from chandelier to chandelier in that mansion-looking area, and it all looked pretty cool. And it might just be super simple platforming, like hold A and move the control stick like you do in Assassin's Creed, and you'll just automatically hop over. It might just be you automatically hop over without even holding A. You might have to actually jump. It didn't look like the kind of thing where you could fall off, because he didn't jump before he kind of got off. It's kind of hard to explain, but in games where you kind of automatically jump from place to place, your feet don't leave the ground until the exact moment you get to the sweet spot for jumping. You can't jump any sooner or later, so having every single jump look like that sweet spot, I'm going to assume it's kind of automatic, which is fine, because Persona is not a platforming game. It's an RPG game, and they're adding more stuff into it to make it, I guess, more varied, is the word I'm looking for. So that's cool. That's fine. Not doing a fourth take. That cough is staying in. There might be stealth gameplay. There probably will be stealth gameplay, considering your character is a thief, and the little section where he's dashing between the corners on the ground super fast with that superhuman speed of his is probably indicative of the kind of stealth gameplay it's going to be, where you're doing really crazy stuff to get around people. But it looks super fun and super cool, and I hope they implement it well, or at least make it look cool, because stealth is kind of done badly in a lot of hybrid stuff. Like trying to think of an example here. Deus Ex, just to throw one out there. You could, like, walk directly in front of a guy, and if you were far enough away, he wouldn't see you. And there's probably going to be a lot of stuff like that going on in Persona, but with all the way the zipping looking around looks and how cool and all stylish and all that, it's probably going to be pretty fun to do, even if it's really easy. Now, there's going to be there's 4 party members. Definitely 4 party members. They showed up in the trailer in the animation multiple times, and there was a small gameplay section where you could see turn-based battles, and all 4 of them were there. Well, I say 4, but obviously one of them is the main character, who's obviously going to be in the party from the beginning. Unless they're going to pull a Final Fantasy XII situation on us, but I doubt it. The all-out attacks look slightly different. They look very different, actually, in that you saw an all-out attack during that small section of turn-based gameplay, and instead of the sort of comic-looking dust clouds come out of the ground, stars show up, it's this really Killer 7-esque looking thing where a red screen shows up and you're a bunch of black dots dashing across the screen, cutting everything on it, and that looks pretty cool. It's a minor change, but it does make things fit more stylistically with the rest of the world, and it means the all-out attack is still in the game, and that's a fun mechanic, so, you know, it's good. That's good. I like that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Persona 3 and Persona 4, I think the camera never really did much dynamically. It just sort of panned around you and your party and never really changed up much. Maybe zoom in on you for when you're doing a special attack, but then it would zoom back out. I think there are going to be more dynamic camera angles in Persona 5, because during that turn-based gameplay section I keep bringing up, the cat did an uppercut, and during the entire animation, the camera was sort of angled below him at a degree. I'm moving around a lot here, but I speak with my hands sometimes when I'm going really fast to make sure I can process what I'm saying. And the camera was there the whole time, which means that that's probably going to be a really good, you know, I hope they implement it well. It might not. It might just be just a once-in-a-lifetime thing, like you do a super special attack and it changes a little. Might be something that's really constant and fluid, and I hope it is, because that's what I want from my RPGs, is a bunch of cinematic camera angles, considering most of the time in actuality, you're just hitting buttons. And the last thing to bring up is that I'm pretty sure that all the party members in your team have transformations. At the end of the trailer, there was that bit where the main character was covered in flames, and the mask showed up on him, and that's one big piece of evidence supporting it. And another is that during one of the animation sequences, there was a frame of the cat, a regular cat, that kind of wipes to the cat that's in your party and looks more exaggerated, like a bobblehead almost, kind of like a Nendoroid. And that also kind of implies that that cat transforms into the bobblehead cat, and that means that it might be something completely cosmetic that just separates the gameplay sections from the town sections, but it could be something interesting mechanic-wise. Probably not. It's most likely going to be the cosmetic thing, but yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think some of my theories are kind of dumb, or if you think they're spot on, or if you think this is all just wild speculation and nobody can tell. Just let me know in the comments. And I really hope the video doesn't crash this time. This is webcam YouTube stuff is rough.